Hey everybody, welcome back to Ken Michaels Radio, where we talk about the Beatles on all of our shows. We welcome all kinds of special guests to this channel. And this time out, someone who I've interviewed a few times, one time for my website, kenmichaelsradio.com, and also on one of the podcast shows that I do called Things We Said Today. That was about less than a year ago when Ringo's Rewind Forward EP came out. And he has spent many years working with Ringo, starting with the Ringo Rama album, but he's also known for co-producing albums and Ringo's EPs with Ringo, playing on his albums, and also co-writing songs with Ringo. And that's Bruce Sugar. Welcome to the channel, Bruce.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you.
The reason why we're having you on, first of all, well, we love to have you on anytime. But Ringo's birthday's coming up on July the 7th. He's going to be turning 84. So I'm thinking about doing a bunch of specials here on my channel. And one of the new concepts that I had for Ken Michaels Radio is to do a show called The Deeper You Go, where I ask my guests to pick 10 deep tracks from an artist, either a solo Beatle in this case, or the Beatles as a group. And these are songs that are album cuts, B-sides, relatively obscure songs that the average person doesn't know, anything but the hits. So in this case, Bruce is going to talk about 10 very deep Ringo tracks. So no photographs in here. No, it don't come easies. These are all songs that he's picked that, for whatever the reason, which we're about to discover, he has chosen as being songs that he feels should receive some kind of notice or appreciation. And he's not ranking them from 10 to number one. These are just 10 of his favorites that are deep tracks. So let's start with the first one that you've chosen. And that would be what, Bruce?
The first one I chose is Right One for Me,
Hmm.
which is off of Ringo Rama album, which is actually the first album I worked with Ringo. And I could tell a quick story about that. Basically, Ringo was working with Mark Hudson, was the producer at the time. And he had an engineer named Paul Santo who works with Aerosmith as well.
Hmm.
So anyway, I get a call from a friend of mine that was friends with Mark that can you work can you work a couple days in the studio because Paul Santo had to go back to Massachusetts to work with Aerosmith. So I was, absolutely thrilled to, work with Ringo, and I thought it'd be like a 2 or 3 day gig, and here we are 20 years later or something like that. Uh, anyway, so that's how I got the gig. But that was the first album I worked on. We were working on Right One for Me, and I kind of came into the project halfway, so most of the tracks were already recorded, and we were recording the some of the guests on it. And Right One for Me has Willie Nelson on it.
Right.
So I remember we were up in Mark Hudson at this little studio up on Santa Monica Boulevard above a Thai restaurant. So Willie pulls up his big bus in this little parking lot. There's like 8 spaces, and he takes up all the spaces with his bus. And he comes in, learns the song 2 or 3 times through, sings it, and takes off in his bus. But one thing I did notice about Willie that he sounded really, because Mark doesn't have glass between the control room and the basically the singers in the control room with us. So he sings really loud, which I was really surprised. He sang very loud.
You know, I've seen footage of Willie in his early years, and he projected his voice a lot
Right,
more. You'd be
exactly.
surprised if you listen to him then, whereas now he has such a soft delivery. You're used to
Right.
that kind of voice.
Yeah. No, he projected in that little room, and I was like, man, this is Willie Nelson. It's loud.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a great song, and I think it's a good listen and a little backstory to it.
Yeah. You know, one of the frustrating things for me, because I love different collaborations, in this case with Ringo and all the different songwriters he's worked with. And when I hear him work with someone like Willie Nelson doing a duet here, and I know from interviews that I've read, he loves not only country music, he loves outlaw music.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure he would have loved to work with a Waylon Jennings or someone like that. But it's so natural for him to be in the studio with Willie Nelson. It's like, I wish these guys would do more together.
Absolutely. I'm surprised they hadn't after that one time,
Yeah.
but it's just circumstance. Didn't work out. But anyway, that was right one for me.
I just want to make sure I mention one thing because one of my favorite moments in that song, there's a humorous line in there where Ringo sings, "If I could write a poem, I would send one, but I don't have a pen I can depend on."
Oh right, yeah, a little word salad there. Yeah, that was a good line. I don't know who came up with that,
Yeah.
but
That's one of the Ringo, Mark Hudson, Gary Burr compositions.
right, that's correct.
What a great team. And
Yeah,
with Judas too.
yep.
Okay, what's the second one?
The second one is Fading In, Fading Out, which is from Choose Love, the next album. It was the first album I worked on from the start. Uh, and we recorded that song, if I remember, I think it was only myself, Gary Burr, and Mark Hudson. And we were at Ringo's studio in Cranley, England, in south of England.
Hmm,
And it was a very cold winter, I remember. But we were just kind of in there for a couple of weeks. We were working on a few of those songs, and I just remember Fading In, Fading Out was one of my favorites, and I recorded every part of it. And later on, I did a 5.1 mix of that song, and we got nominated for a Grammy for best five immersive mix, surround mix at the time. Now it's Atmos,
right.
but anyway, so I have fond memories of that song and that
In,
period of time.
in most cases, do you observe Ringo with whoever he's writing the song with, in this case, Mark Hudson and Gary Burr, writing the song from scratch, or do you get called in when the song's already written?
I think a lot of those I was in the room because they would just jam. Most of those were written in the studio with the Roundheads.
Yeah, right.
All the Roundheads was always kind of in the studio. So yeah, I was witness to a lot of that writing for
They
sure.
seem to have such magic together,
Yeah, yeah,
Mark
that
Hudson
was
and Gary Burr. And like I said, Steve Dudas.
yeah.
Yeah, Gary really explained the whole collaborative process there, and Gary did a lot of the lyrics, and
Hmm.
Hudson wrote a lot of the melodies. It wasn't always that way, and Steve Dudas would very often come up with guitar parts, for which he would get songwriting credits.
Right. Well, he come up with the changes. I mean, it was hard to say who did what. It was definitely a collaborative effort usually, and people would come up with, you know, I didn't see anyone really dominating the writing. And
Hmm.
Ringo would throw in his 2 cents and stuff, and so they did some good work together.
I think Fading In, Fading Out is one of Ringo's definitely strongest tracks. It's a song that I wish had been a hit record, like so
I
many.
do too. I think it's a great song. I think the message is great. I think the arrangement's great, and I think yeah, that's someone. Yeah, Robert Randolph plays on that too.
Right.
He's playing the steel guitar on the end, the crazy steel stuff.
Yeah, you're so used to Ringo singing peace and love in all of his songs. This is a similar message, but it's just a very positive message,
Yep.
and people should listen to the lyrics of that one.
Yeah.
When he waxes philosophical, so many of what he says makes good sense and gives you hope, through his lyrics. So,
Absolutely. And if you get a chance to hear the surround mix, it's on the Ringo 5.1 album. It's I was on the committee. That those nominations are determined by a committee,
right.
not by the general population of Naris. So I was on the committee, and that song, uh, we were the only song that got the standing ovation after we played it. For all these, like Alan Parsons are there, and all these big shots, were
Wow.
there. And I really thought we were going to win the Grammy that year, but we lost out to a classical uh, person, classical record.
Well, a standing ovation. says a lot right there.
Yeah, no, I thought we won. I thought it was great just to be in that room and see the reaction.
Yeah. And Ringo knew about it, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. Okay.
All
Your third
right.
choice. Yeah, I know.
Uh,
Your third choice is another favorite of mine.
okay. So yeah, the third choice, another from Choose Love, Don't Hang Up, which is another Roundheads track. And there's a funny story about that because that's also a duet with Chrissy Hine, who's a trip. And anyway, so Mark is kind of conducting her part. You know, she comes in the studio and he starts counting, you know, to count her in to where she's supposed to come in.
Uh-huh.
And then he points at her and she goes, cut, stop, you know. And she goes to Mark. She goes, number one, never count it to me. And number two, never point at me. And I've never heard Mark have a, you know, have nothing to say. You know, he was speechless for the first time ever in a while. But that was a funny moment. But she was great. I think the song's really cool. On the end of the song, you can hear the that British operator. We had to hold the phone up until it's, you know, until it starts up with that message. Don't, you know,
Right.
if you hang up or whatever. But
Was that was that already a recorded message that you
no,
dubbed?
we actually picked up the phone and recorded it off the phone,
Okay.
off the, you know, where it says "Don't hang up"
Yeah,
on the end.
but did you hire someone to say that?
No, that was the British operator. That was the actual phone. When you
Okay.
hold it on, when you have it open for too long, it goes into that thing.
Okay.
You know, hang up. You know, yeah. No, we didn't hire anyone. That was someone anonymous got on the Ringo record.
What was the interaction like between Chrissy and Ringo? I mean, she's worked with a lot of superstars, but she's a huge Beatle fan, and here she is on a record with Ringo.
Yeah, I think she was friends with maybe
Oh,
Ringo's daughter or
no.
someone, one of his kids or something that he's friends with. She's friends with, and uh, she didn't spend that long in there. She just came in and did her part, and like Willie, just sang her part and left. You know, but you know, they get along great. You know the great thing about working with Ringo when all these big stars come in, we work with quite a few. Their egos go out the door. You know,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be. What are you going to do in front of Ringo? You know, it's crazy. You know,
So
so.
between with Chrissy and with Willie, were the backing tracks already done, or was it done live with them?
No, the tracks are already done. They came into overdub. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it was definitely done afterwards.
Yeah. I was so happy for her because I know how much she loves the Beatles.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, it was great.
She was big friends with the McCartneys, especially Linda.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm really I gotta tell the folks that you gave me your list beforehand, and
Okay.
sometimes I prefer not that because I like being surprised. But in this case, I was so pleased with your fourth choice, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it because it's one that caught me by surprise, and there's a lot I love about it. Paso Dobles.
Yeah, I think it's that was on Liverpool 8, and that album was kind of a little bit strange because that was the time when Mark Hudson was replaced with Dave Stewart.
Uh,
So we started. The album was basically produced and recorded with Mark Hudson producing it, and then towards the end, you know, they had the famous falling out, and Dave Stewart took over.
mhm.
But I remember I didn't work with Dave on it, so Dave did a few overdubs and mixed it. But we recorded that song in England at his studio in Cranley, and it was just funny because they were out of their comfort zone. You know, the Roundheads were definitely out of their comfort zone, and they were doing this song. Paso Dobles is a dance and a rhythm, but it didn't. That song didn't have a Paso Dobles rhythm. It was more like a rumba.
Hmm.
So it was strange. They call it paso dobles, but it wasn't really a paso dobles rhythm. Uh, but it was just great seeing them trying to interpret something that they were out of their comfort zone. And I thought it was just cool, just stepping out and trying something new and different. That's what makes music great. That you try to experiment with stuff.
Yeah, it's part of the joy, especially in recent years with Ringo, when he does songs in different styles that you don't expect him to. And there's one that you're going to mention later, which I raved about when it first came out. But one of the things that is just amazing about Pasodobles is the classical guitar with
Right? Yeah.
now I have two guitarists listed here, and I'm trying to figure is it Steve Dudas
You
playing
know
that?
what? I was trying to wonder who's listed on there because I listened to it earlier and I was trying to figure out if that was Steve, but
Um,
I think it might have been one of Dave's overdubs that he did.
okay. I thought
Do
I
you,
had two guitarists listed, but
it could have been Steve because he's actually a great nylon classical guitar player.
hmm.
So it definitely could have been Steve.
I mean, that playing is just sensational, and it really is
Yeah,
a big song.
absolutely is. And
But
I
the
think it was just really vibey, that song, and that's what I dug about it.
yeah,
It
and
was
not only that, there are certain songs, and I think of "Not Looking Back," which is one of my favorite Ringo songs, where he's singing in a pretty low range,
right. Yeah,
lower
exactly.
than you expect him to.
Yeah,
So same thing with Pasodobles.
yeah.
I just wanted to read some of the lyrics that I like so much.
Okay.
We're shining low, the music loud. We danced so close and slow, we drew a crowd. We were we were two together like candles burnt. We became one, and that's how I learnt. Her Pasodobles. Now look where I am today, strangers in perfect motion, down by the Spanish Sea, El Pasodobles. It's really nice.
It
That's
really is. Yeah.
you know, like her qualities, you know,
Hmm.
instead of just
Yeah.
talking about the dance.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Okay, what's the next song you have?
The next song is The Right Side of the Road, which is off of Postcards from Paradise, which
Hmm.
is a great record. And this one was written with Richard Marx,
Right.
and it's kind of a pseudo reggae kind of weird. I don't know. I don't know what you call
Uh-huh.
that groove, but it was kind of a pseudo reggae thing. And we had Peter Frampton on lead guitar, which was great. It was the first time we got to work with him. And Ringo's known him for years,
Right.
and that was really fun working with him on that. Uh,
Two tremendous guitar players on there. When you look at all the different people that Ringo's written with, like you said, Richard Marx, there's Peter Frampton on a song which you're about to talk about.
right, exactly.
They only wrote one song together,
Yeah,
and that song is on your list. Van Dyke Parks, Gary Nicholson, Dave Stewart,
yeah.
so many incredible people. Um, are there any that you can single out that you really feel like Ringo fit the best with, or they got along fine and just for some reason it clicked? Are they all different in their own way, or what?
Yeah, they're kind of different in their own way. I think, Dave Stewart had a pretty good connection with Ringo. They were both kind of grew up around the same areas and stuff, and had a common bond that way. And I don't know. I think all of them were good. I mean, everyone brings something else to the table. There's Glenn Ballard did
Right.
some great stuff, and uh, Steve Lukather. The stuff he's done with Steve and Joe Williams. It's really cool. So I got to give Ringo a lot of credit for reaching out and trying to uh, just do different things. Work with different people and experience what they have to offer.
Yeah. It also says something about Steve Lukather that he has written on almost all of the recent releases,
Right,
exception of Crooked Boy, which was all
right.
Very. I mean, there's
Right.
always a Steve Lukather song on an EP.
Yeah, well, he's like the house guitar player now, so
Yeah.
and and nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay. The next song, well, I was just talking about Peter Frampton.
Okay, so the next song is "Laughable" from
Uh-huh.
Give More Love, and it was just such a pleasure to work. That was, on the other song on Right Side of the Road, he just came in and played. He was out, but "Laughable," we spent the day writing that song with Ringo. Peter did, and then we recorded it, and that song was written right after the 2016 election, so maybe you know what it's about. It would be laughable if it wasn't sad. So I mean, that's kind of what that song is about.
And
Uh,
I remember there were rumblings that that might be what the song was about, but nobody wanted to commit it.
well, no, it could have different meanings, but I think that was on people's minds back then. So you can probably deduce that that was definitely something that was in the minds of the writers.
Yeah.
Uh,
You want me to read some of the lyrics? Because
yeah, sure.
so fitting. Woke up this morning, I was feeling good. Turned on the radio, I understood. Things are changing like never before. Should I go back to bed and close the door? It would be laughable if it wasn't sad. Yeah, laughable if it wasn't sad.
Yeah. Uh, and Nathan East is on that one too on bass. We work with Nathan a lot. And I just think I love the groove of that song. I think it's just really great lick that Peter brought in with it, and I think it's a really cool track.
Yeah, there's a
That should
number
get
of
some.
songs that are driven around a guitar lick. So
Yeah,
it's definitely,
absolutely.
yeah, that's a great team. Again,
Yeah,
I wish Ringo and Peter Frampton would do more together.
I wish they did more too. But Peter's got his own thing, and he's keeping busy. He's fighting a couple of illnesses, and you know,
Yeah, I've seen him in concert the last couple of years. He's still playing like,
yeah, no, he's still incredible.
yeah. Can you imagine? Because there was one tour that Ringo did with Peter Frampton in it. If he had a tour now with Frampton and Steve Lukather,
Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah,
that would
absolutely.
be jamming heaven.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't do that. I don't know if Ringo's ever asked him to be in the band. He's got plenty of hits. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you know.
All right, the next song.
Okay, so the next song is "So Wrong for So Long," which delves into the country scene with Dave Stewart,
Hmm.
and that was off the "Give More Love" album. So that was just out of left field, a country song by two Englishmen wrote, and I just think it's really a great country song. And we had the great Greg Leese on it, who played pedal steel, who's a kind of he's kind of the pedal steel god here in LA. There's not that many. There's only two or three guys that can really play, but he plays dobro and pedal steel, and he was. Last time we worked with him, he goes, everyone asks me what should, because LA is not really, they don't do a lot of steel guitar work here,
Hmm.
and sometimes he gets called on a date and they ask him, what should your steel sound like on the record? And he goes, listen to "So Wrong for So Long." He kind of points that out, which is kind of a nice compliment. But,
Yeah, it's great work right there. I actually confused So Wrong for So Long with Pasodobles. I had
oh,
it is and Greg as guitarists, and I was going to ask you which one played the pedal steel.
oh yeah, no, that's Greg Leese.
Okay.
It's the master. And I
Tremendous.
thought that was a great country song, but that kind of got lost in the radar too. That song.
Well, if you follow, Ringo's entire solo career, not just Bukus of Blues, but every now and then he sprinkles a country song on his albums.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites is "Crying" from Ringo's Rotogravure.
All right. Yeah.
He wrote with Vinnie Poncia, and
Sure.
and I also notice, and everyone who's followed Ringo is aware of this, how much he puts references to certain things in his songs, especially Beatles songs. He
Right.
write one for me, and Yesterday is mentioned in there, and Fading in, Fading Out, All You Need Is Love is referenced in there, and then So Wrong for So Long is a reference to Johnny Cash and June.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And for whatever reason, Ringo's voice just works really good in country.
It does. And then which anyway, so the new country record's coming out. I'm not sure when, but it's going to be fantastic. I can't really say much about it, but I think people are going to be really blown away. You know, we got the great T-Bone Burnett who's kind of helming the thing, so
Right.
you know he knows what he's doing, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a great record.
Can you say if it's been finished?
It's not finished.
Okay.
It's not finished.
I know that Ringo said that it'll probably be out late in the year, so I'm figuring probably around November, that kind of time.
You know, I'm not really privy to that information, but you know, they're still working it out. But they hope to get it out this year.
Hmm.
That's all I could say, and it is going to blow people away. It'll be pleasantly surprised, you know, when you hear it.
Well,
Just a lot of great songs, and just the production's incredible.
so many fans
Anyway,
saying he should do another country album, so now it's finally going to happen.
it's coming, and people are going to be happy. So that's all I could say.
All right, next song is.
Next song is Waiting for the Tide to Turn, which is another reggae song, one that I co-wrote with Ringo,
Mhm.
one of my first co-writes with him. Uh, and that was on the Zoom In EP, which was the first pandemic EP.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, this is when we started doing uh, remote recording.
Hmm.
Most of those first two EPs were done remotely. A lot of the parts, not all of them. We had a couple of small group that uh, you know, would come to Ringo's house, a little bubble of just a couple people.
Right.
But that was that was the first pandemic EP, and we actually got the guitar player Tony Chen is a famous reggae guitarist,
Hmm.
and that was always great to get some a true guy in there doing, you know, because up until then it's just, you know, white guys trying to be trying to play reggae, you know. So he kind of set us straight a little bit on that track.
What was it like to sit down and write with Ringo for the first time? What was the process like?
Uh, I mean, I brought the song in, and he contributed quite a few of the lyrics in it. I had the track. You know, Ringo's always been a big reggae fan as well. So, and then you can again, you can hear his him mention Bob Marley in it, and
Yep.
Toots, you know, and all kinds of, you know, he makes all kinds of different people he's mentioning. But yeah, it's fun. You know, he's very witty, and you know, he'll come up with stuff that's just different than you'd ever think about. You know, from left field. So you know, the famous Ringoisms. You know, he can come up with that stuff. You know,
He's
and
like the Yogi Berra of rock.
yeah, right, exactly, exactly.
I wanted to mention, and we said this on one of my other podcasts, Talk More Talk. The background vocals are so wonderful. The women on there, Zelma Davis.
Oh, Zelma, yeah,
Yeah, and they add, for some reason, they fit so well with Ringo's vocals.
yeah. That one they work for that reggae stuff. They work really good. Yeah, and Zelma's incredible. She's a great artist herself,
Right.
Zelma Davis, and we had I forget who else was on that. I think it was
Uh,
only Zelma and her
Wagner,
daughter.
Wendy Wagner.
Oh, she's on that. Okay, waiting for the tide. Yeah, Wendy's great. And I don't know if Amy Keys we usually use too. I'm not sure if she was on that track.
Hmm. All right. Whose idea was it to have the background singers? Was that yours or Ringo's or what?
Yeah, I mean both of our. You know, we usually, you know, he likes background vocals with him, and reggae is traditionally has female background vocals. So I thought that worked really well on that track.
Did he say to you, give me a reggae song, or did you just decide together, let's create?
Yeah, we just, he didn't want, I had that reggae song kind of in the works, and he kind of put the finishing touches on it, basically lyrically. But yeah, he's always up to do a reggae song, so that worked out pretty nice.
I was gonna say, because the two of you wrote another reggae song just that way. So it's
All
like
right, yeah, yeah,
coincidental.
yeah. I don't know. He was in a little reggae mood for a couple of those EPs. So
Okay, well, I don't mind if he keeps adding more and more of them.
yeah, yeah.
I loved Island in the Sun,
Oh yeah, that was kind of pop reggae. Yeah, that was a great one. Right, with the All Star Band.
right? The only time that all the All-Stars wrote together for a song.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
all right. So proud
You,
of the next one. You
uh,
cho-
I am to Free Your Soul, which is another track that I wrote with Ringo, uh, off the EP3 album, and I mean it's a total different vibe for Ringo. I don't think it's kind of in the realm of smooth jazz, kind of pop jazz. And he hadn't really done anything like that in a while, or I can't even remember him doing it at all. And he was up for it, which was great. He's just open for stuff. And I brought the song in. He contributed quite a bit of the lyrics on it. Uh, and anyway, I was like, yeah, who should we get on this? So 30 years ago, I worked on Dave Coz's first album. Dave is a
right.
fairly well famous sax player right now in the jazz and smooth jazz world. And I worked on his first album. I think it was the first track he ever did when he was on Columbia at CBS.
Hmm.
And so I literally hadn't seen him or spoken to him for 30 years. I was like, oh, why don't I call Dave? Because it seemed like it would be a good fit for him, this song. So he said yes. And then Jose Antonio Rodriguez, the nylon string guitar player, a flamenco guitar player from Spain, I knew through another friend of mine. And I just thought it'd be a good pairing of those two. And you never know if something's going to work like that, but it just all came together pretty quick. And I'm really proud of that song and the production on
It was a big shock to me and to
that.
fellow podcasters because we never heard Ringo do anything like this before.
Right.
So, and it's like, do some more. It's
Yeah, well, we weren't worried, but just kind of curious to see how Ringo's fans would react to that. Most of them are rock and rollers and want to hear his rock and roll, and it was just a different vibe, on that one. But I thought he sang it great. He fell right into the pocket drumming wise. He drummed great on it.
yeah.
So he drums great on everything. But
When Ringo does all these EPs, does he feel like, because I feel like he's branching out more and more, but actually I could say that after the Roundheads period, and I believe me, I love the Roundheads.
yeah, sure, I did
Such
too.
strong material on those albums. But I think by virtue of the fact that he works with so many different musicians and different songwriters, the music's going to sound different anyway.
Right,
But, a song like this, I would never have expected, certainly when he put out albums through and even the Mark Hudson period.
right.
So it's so refreshing to me when he does something like this. And then the
Well,
reggae stuff. And
yeah. Well, I'm glad you like that because I'm really proud of it. I thought it turned out great, and he sold it. He sold the song singing it. Sometimes when you go out of your comfort zone, you don't really nail it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But he got it.
well, it certainly fits for this
Yeah,
song. So
yeah.
does he ever say to you, hey, let's write another one like this? Or
No, he had, he had, he had.
okay. Well, I'm hoping for more.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? What's going to happen. I think he's more in the moment. It was the country EPs, the country albums kind of on the forefront right now, and So I don't know, who knows what the future will hold. He's going to be 84 on Sunday,
God bless him.
which is amazing, and still relevant as ever, I think, I mean, he's playing well. Uh, who knows,
Yeah. He looks so healthy and
He is, yeah, I know,
he's an inspiration.
really is.
So the last song you chose is
The last song from the EP Rewind Forward was Miss Jean, which was Mike Campbell
mm,
from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers composition. And I just thought it'd be good to end with a good old rock and roll song. It's a great lick on that one. It's I just think it's a good time rock and roll song. That Ringo fans would love. And
right.
Mike Campbell brought in the track. I think it was an old track he had from 10, 20 years ago. I think it was a while back, and he brought it in. I think it was actually done on 2-inch tape. It was that old. Uh, and so we digitized it, and Ringo played drums on it and sang it. And then I think Mike did some other parts on it, and I thought it came out great. It's a great rocker.
So he used part of the original recording?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was. It might have been a demo he did, maybe for a Petty thing that never materialized. I forget what the context of the song was for, but it was not a new song.
Huh.
It was one he had for a while, and he brought in the track with him singing. Like I said, Ringo replaced the drums and uh, and sang it. That was an interesting part about it. So when Ringo did the drums,
Hmm.
uh, the drums are, I don't know if you've seen the studio. They're in a separate little bedroom, and
Right.
the studio's out in the main room, so you can barely see in there. If the door's open, you can see. If not, you can't even see him in there. But anyway, so Ringo was fuddling around with his headphones and getting stuff together. He was standing up. And anyway, I started the song off before I knew he was ready. So you hear the count of 1, 2, and then you see Ring. I think Brent Carpenter, does all the video. I think he caught her on video. There's actual video of it. And Ringo, he hears the count and he sits down on his drums and hits the fill, the intro fill, like without even thinking about it. And that's what we used. That was the final thing. That it was so great. And he had no time to prepare. He's literally 1, 2, and he ran over to the drums and played the opening fill of Miss Jane.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, right. Well, like he said, when he was with the Beatles, he was always on the kit. He was always ready for a count off. If John or Paul, whatever, he was always there, ready to go. And
Right.
again, he was the same thing. So he's amazing. He really is.
Can you tell me, because ever since he started doing the EPs because of COVID, how much of these EPs that he's done is actually just sent digitally and everything is overdubbed? Are there moments when there's real live recordings in his studio with everybody there? Because I know
Yeah,
the Perry, that was all what she sent to him, and he overdubbed that.
right. Well, I mean, during the pandemic, that's what a lot of that stuff with the Steve Lukather stuff was done like that. But Steve Lukather came in and played guitar on it, so he would play in the studio. The I'm trying to think some of the other tracks. A lot of them were sent in during the pandemic, but a lot of them were done. All the drums were done live at Ringo's studio, but he was playing the tracks that were already recorded usually.
Right.
And then I think Nathan East came in a few times to play bass. It was definitely not. It was never everyone in the room together playing. It
Hmm.
was definitely piecemeal during the pandemic,
Okay.
and that's the way a lot of recordings done now anyway. It's unfortunately the days of going in a big studio with 5, 6 musicians is limited nowadays. You know,
But
it's
also,
just
if you don't have something like COVID,
right. Yeah, right. Well, that definitely put a damper on things.
yeah. But Ringo has his own studio, so he can invite all of his friends to come over and record with him. But
Yeah, but that room's not that big. We can't really. If he had 10 guys, if he had 5 guys over there, we couldn't do it. It's too small. We
yeah,
could maybe do 3. Bass, drums, guitar. We could do.
I
We've done
remember Ringo
before.
talking about the Choose Love album and how much he enjoyed making it because it was all done in a small room. Everybody was all tight together in the
That
room.
was done in England, where he had a proper studio. It was a much bigger space there, and that was done. And most of the stuff was done with Ringo played drums, and Dudis was on guitar, and who played bass? I think Mark played bass a bunch of times,
Okay.
and sometimes Gary, but it's usually 3 or 4 piece, usually at the most on those gigs.
Hmm.
So you don't get to do that too much, but I've done some of it this year. We've done some stuff with some other artists, but it's
Okay.
really a thrill again to go in and do that, because that's the way we used to do stuff all the time.
Do you think Ringo enjoys recording this way with just all
Well,
playing?
I think there's pros and cons, of it for him. The main thing is he could stay at home. He doesn't have to, he's not a big person to go out. And, when he goes out to any studio, he's got to kind of put on his Ringo vibe, He's, he can't just, sit home and drink tea and, be himself.
Right.
It's a whole different vibe when you're him, when you're out in public.
Hmm.
So it's easier for him for just people to come over, and I think he just enjoys that and the camaraderie. And there's no rush, I think he enjoys that. We did a couple things with him live over the years in a studio. I think he loves that too, but I think generally he likes being at home, and laid back, and he can come and go as he pleases, and.
Yeah. He could be himself. It's more
Right. It's
relaxed.
easier. It's easy for him.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go here, your thoughts on Crooked Boy? I mean,
Uh, oh, hold on. It's my other Crooked Boy. I thought it was a good record. I don't know. It was a little one-dimensional for me, but I thought Linda did a great job overall. I
hmm,
like some of her lyrics a lot.
yeah. He, I like, the mixture of songs on there, and certainly
Yeah.
I Need Someone really rocks. I
Yeah.
hear,
No, it was a great rocker, and February Sky I liked a lot. Uh, yeah, that was a good record.
yeah.
Uh,
Did you see like a natural progression of this happening because of Coming Undone, recording that, and then the next song? I mean, she flat out asked him, "How about if I produced and wrote the songs for your next EP?"
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that I was a little divorced from that project. I recorded the drums and vocals, and Linda basically did everything else. She took the lead on that, and yeah, Linda's extremely talented, and she did some good work on that.
Do you like the idea of one person producing and writing everything and for an EP?
Well, we really hadn't done that in the past, so that's why I thought it was a little one-dimensional. The other stuff was more of a potpourri of music. It's just different vibes, which I don't know. I mean, I don't think anyone listens through stuff anymore anyway. They pick songs they like to hear and, put them on a playlist nowadays. So I think the concept of an album or an EP by one person is a little outdated, but I don't know. It's
Hmm. Well, when I listen to Ringo, I listen for variety now because of all the
yeah,
people that he works with. And I think,
correct. Yeah,
it's not like if I listen to Crooked Boy right now and nobody told me that Linda Perry produced and wrote everything, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it
There's
was
a,
all done by one person. So,
yeah,
hmm,
yeah, that's true. There's a little bit of that couple songs. That one song really kind of stands out. That needs someone.
yeah.
Rock's really good.
Crooked Boy itself has a real country feel to it, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that guitar. I forget who played guitar on that. He was really good for a guitar player.
Guy from the Strokes.
Oh, the Strokes, right? That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he was really good.
Hmm. All right. Beyond Ringo, what are your current plans?
Beyond Ringo, my current plans is just to keep working if I can. I got a couple other clients I'm working with. I do a lot of Latin music now and then. Still working with Joe Walsh. He's in between his Eagles uh, concerts and stuff he's doing. He's working,
Hmm.
always putting out, putting together new music. Hopefully, we'll have something new out soon. Um,
That's great.
and yeah, just doing different things. Right now we're concentrating on finishing up the country record, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that release. And who knows what the future brings? I know Ringo goes out on tour again in September, and you know, after that, who knows? We'll see what happens. But
I
it's been a
well, I think Ringo, as long as he's healthy, he's going to keep touring.
Yeah. Well, every time he always says that that's it. That after he sits around for a couple of weeks, let's do something.
He can't sit
So
still for too long.
yeah, no. But it's been a joy working with him. He's so inspirational, as we said earlier, and his whole uh, outlook on life is great, and positive. And Sunday's his birthday. He's doing another peace and love moment, which we need more than ever right now in this world. A moment of sanity, and
There's too much insanity right now.
there really is. And hopefully, people will tune into the birthday celebration and see the peace and love moment
Okay.
on,
Will
on
you be with
Sunday.
him? Will you
I'll
be
be
with
there on Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, give him our best and
I
Barbara
will. I
and everyone
will.
out there hanging out with him.
Okay.
Bruce, thanks so much for doing this, sharing these 10 songs with us. And you're always welcome anytime you
All
want to
right. I
channel.
appreciate it, and good luck with your podcast. And we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.